Hello everyone and welcome to the last unit of the course. I'm really proud of you. So you learned a lot of things. You've learned articles, you've learned phrasal verbs, participle, gerund, that clause, WH clause, so whatnot. You learned everything. So the last bit of study you have left in this course, it's word formation. So all these different little suffixes and prefixes and their functions. So let's just dive in and see what we have for today. So first things first, we're going to talk about parts of speech and their functions, okay? So when we look at a part of speech, we will have noun, for example. It's words like thing, dog, boy, I don't know, house. The question what? What is it? Boy, house, thing, information, all these words are nouns. So nouns have different functions in English sentences, as I'm sure you know, right? So it's a quick review. So for example, noun can be a subject. Well, so it means like technologies improve our lives. Here, technologies is the subject. It's the doer, right? So the main, I don't know, agent, actor in the sentence. It can be an object, the thing that receives action, right? We need better technologies. Here, subject is we, right? So noun technologies acts as an object. So it's really important to associate particular functions in the sentence with a part of speech. So we know that noun can be an object and a subject in a sentence, and that it should be noun. So it cannot be a verb, it cannot be an adjective, it cannot be an article, it should be a noun or pronoun, like we, I, am, it. So if we talk about adjectives, and that's the target, basically, that's the focus of today's session, it's words which answer the question which, like nice, which boy, nice boy, or I don't know, orange, which car, orange car. So we usually use adjective with the subject together. So we use adjective before the subject, which is usually noun, to tell more information about the subject. So we can say modern technologies improve our lives. So here, modern, it's the part of the subject, and it's an adjective. And again, we remember that should be an adjective. It shouldn't be a noun or a verb. You cannot say go technologies improve our lives, or I don't know, improve technologies improve our lives. It wouldn't work here, okay? It can also be an object, so like we need better modern technologies. So adjective would go together with a subject or an object. We also have verb. Verb is the activity, so it's simple. So verb is usually the verb, like the second part. So here it's improve, or here we shouldn't rely on technology. So rely is the verb. And we also have adverbs. So these words usually have li, and they usually answer the question how. So for example, how do you move? I move slowly, right? So here we usually use adverb together with the verb, right? Usually before the verb. So we shouldn't blindly rely on technology. So blindly not looking, not thinking critically. So we shouldn't blindly rely on technologies. We will also see examples where adverb can go before an adjective, right? So extremely nice person. This person is nice, but how nice is this person? Extremely nice. So remember that the function of an adverb in the sentence is to do something with the verb or with the adjective. So here, when you use blindly rely, it couldn't be adjective, for example. You cannot say blind rely. So when you know that, when you know these basics, these parts of speech and their functions, you will already kind of develop a better feeling of a sentence and you won't make as many mistakes. So let's look at some mistakes though. So, oh no, not mistakes. First, let's look at the sentence and the function, sorry. So, for example, digital technologies greatly improve our usually boring lives. So if you look at the sentence, we have three main elements. So it's the subject, which is the noun here, technologies, and subject should be noun. So we have improve, which is the verb, which is verb, right? And we have lives, which is an object, which should be noun and is a noun. Perfect. So we could just say technologies improve lives. I don't know, that would be a perfect sentence. But if you want to add extra elements, they should be in connection to the main elements. So for example, the word digital, it's an adjective, so it goes in connection to the noun technologies. So digital technologies. Greatly, which is an adverb, goes in connection to the word improve. So greatly improve. And again, adverb usually goes in connection to the adjective, which is boring, which goes in connection to noun, which is lives. So it's all kind of connected, and every word here fulfills its function, its role. Okay? So what about mistakes though? Mistakes could look like that. So, for example, this sentence, intelligent people usually lack interest technologies. So people like technologies, that's perfect. We have subject, verb, object, noun, verb, noun. Good. But everything else is not correct because it has the particular function, right, which it cannot fulfill because it's not the right part of speech. So let me give you an example. So the word intelligence. So if we see people as the subject, so before it should be an adjective, right? So the problem here that intelligence is not an adjective, it's a noun. So the right way of saying it would be intelligent, using the suffix ent to make it an adjective. More on that in just a minute. Or usual, right? So usual like. So here before verb we should have an adverb, but we have usual, which is adjective. In order to make it adverb, we would have to use ly. So make it usually. So intelligent people usually like. Okay? And interest technologies, it should be an adjective before technologies, because remember, adjective goes before object or subject. So, but here it's a verb or noun, up to you. I mean, it can be verb, interest, or noun, and interest, but either way, it couldn't go before the object. So that's why it should be interesting. We would use ing suffix to make it an adjective. So see, these manipulations with suffixes would completely fix the sentence and make it more understandable for the native speaker. So instead of saying intelligent people usually like interest technologies, you would say intelligent people usually like interesting technologies. And all the suffixes would connect it all together well. So as for suffixes then, we have many ways to transform words to give them the right function in the sentence. One of the ways is to take a noun and turn it into adjective. So we take a noun and we add a suffix and we get an adjective. That's the common case. So for example, I see or ich, it's a good suffix to turn a noun into an adjective. Why do you need to know the suffixes? So that you can recognize that this word is a noun or this word is an adjective. So if you recognize it, it's easier for you to use it in speech yourself, like when you want to do that on your own. So for example, drama, it's the noun, but dramatic, it's the adjective. Alcohol, it's the noun, but alcoholic, it's an adjective. So for example, you cannot say drama change, but you can say dramatic change because change is noun. So I don't know. So you cannot say alcohol addiction. Actually, you can, but it's not the best way. You would say alcoholic, right? So as an adjective. But we have exceptions. To be honest, alcohol addiction sounds perfectly fine. We'll talk about that next session probably. So then you have al. It's another adjective suffix. The problem here that there is not particular kind of difference in meaning in between ich and al. You just have to remember that certain words would take al, certain words would take ich. But it's more important for you not to see the difference between the suffixes, but to recognize that this suffixes belong to adjectives. That's all. So center, central, right? Emotion, emotional. With time you will develop a feeling when it's better to use al or ich. But for now, let's just give them a look because we have quite a few suffixes just to recognize it. Oh, that's adjective. Oh, that adverb. Oh, that noun. We have ish. So, like child, childish, style, stylish. We also use the suffix when we want to say a little bit off or like something I'm not sure about. Radish, like a little bit rad. Or kind of, I don't know, something like cheapish, like a little bit cheap. And of course we have e as the suffix. It's like wealth, wealthy. Wealth is the amount of money you have, or whatever property, wealthy person. We don't say wealth person, we say wealthy person. Again, we don't say child person, we say if the person acts like a child. Childish person, right? Well, okay. Now then, let's look at more suffixes because those four, it's not all you have. You also have a very common way, it's using "ive" or "if" suffix. So support, but the person is supportive person. Product, but productive team, right? So we also have "nt" to recognize. So importance, and usually we use "nt" when we have a noun with "ns" on the end, like importance, important. So important meeting, but I don't know, importance of something. Again, presence, my presence here, but present student is present student, so present tense, something like that. And of course we have OUS, os, and usually it's pronounced like s, is. Nerve, nervous, so the person is nervous, but we have the nerves, right? Jealousy, jealous, right? So again, you don't need to know the difference between all these suffixes. Now you just need to remember that we recognize the suffixes, the 7 suffixes, and we recognize that those are adjectives, okay? And we use these suffixes to turn nouns into adjectives. But we can also turn verbs into adjectives. So, for example, we have the verb, like, I don't know, the verb embarrass. It's the verb, embarrass somebody. So you can use ing or ed to turn this verb into an adjective. So embarrass, but you embarrass somebody, you embarrassed your friend, but embarrassing meeting. You can disappoint, or you can feel disappointed, and we already talked about the difference between ing and ed in our kind of general course, but the idea is that embarrassing, it's like the quality of the situation is embarrassing, embarrassed or disappointed, it's about your feeling, so ed, it's usually about the feeling. Then we can use less or full if it's full of this activity or have none of it. So for example, cheer, like joy, happiness, cheer. So you can cheer somebody, means to make this person happy. So when you cheer everybody, so you are cheerful, you're full of cheer, right? Or you can help somebody, so you're full of help, you're a helpful person. But if you don't help anybody, you can't help even yourself, you have none of help, so you help less. So less means 0 of that, full means you're full of that. Then we have able. We usually use able with a verb to say that you are able to do that. So for example, if you are able to love somebody, right, or other people can love you, so you're lovable. It's usually about other people are able to love you, so you're lovable. Or so the theory, you can believe, you're able to believe in this theory, so it's believable, it sounds believable, it's a believable theory, right? So again, we have more suffixes to associate with adjectives. So a lot of suffixes. So we have ing, ed, less, full, able, ent, ous, of. So you have many, many indicators that are crying, like they're just begging you to see that it's an adjective. So you read the text and oh, full, oh, ent, oh, us, it's an adjective. So that's why it goes before the subject, right? Aside from adjectives today, we'll also look at adverbs, and it's extremely simple with adverbs. So it's mostly just adjective plus ly, that's it. So easy peasy. So we have emotional person, but you can do something emotionally. So how emotionally? So you can speak emotionally, but you are an emotional person. Productive, so you're a productive person, but you can, I don't know, spend the day productively, right? You're a cheerful person, but you can speak cheerfully. So all these suffixes go together like elly, ively, fully. But we have some exceptions here, and they're random. So, for example, well, it's a special word, and it's an adverb. So, adjective good, but adverb well. Fast, it's the same form for adjective or adverb. I go fast, I'm a fast walker. And friendly and lonely, even though they have ly on the end, those are adjectives. Just remember, a friendly person, a lovely dog. By the way, lovely too. A lonely person too, lovely too. Now I realize. Lovely, lonely, friendly. So those three are most common adjectives with ly. Okay? So, okay. Now then, let's practice, finally. So what you need to do, you need to read the sentence and just guess what adjective or adverb you need here and what suffix you need to use. So for example, in the modern world, some technologies are not replace. Replace, it's the verb, so if we want to turn a verb into an adjective, and if we're able to replace them, so we use replaceable, okay? So, remember, noun into adjective, ik, el, ish, I, if, nt, os. If it's verb into adjective, in, it, less, for, able. If it's adjective into adverb, ly. Just as simple as that. Again, make sure you stop the video, you first guess yourself, and you see if your feeling of information is good. If it's not, it's okay, just repeat after me. Just make sure you see the function and why we need specifically any changes there. So, first, technologies can be very blah 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 in bad hand. So we cannot say can be very danger, right? Be very danger, because here we need an adjective, be plus adjective, right? So if we want to make an adjective out of danger, we need to use OUS because danger is a noun. So we would say can be very dangerous in bad hands. Sometimes social medias affect us. How? So we need an adverb. Emotional, it's an adjective, so we add ly. Sometimes social media affect us emotionally. Next, I'm not sure about this trend. So trend is a noun, so we need an adjective going before the noun. So doubt, if you want to say that something is full of it, we say doubtful. So I'm not sure about this doubtful trend. Technologies make us more implies an adjective, right? Because it's comparative. So if you want to use self, which is a noun, we would use selfish. So technologies makes more selfish. That's where you get this word from, selfish. We also have selfless. You can also say technologies make us more selfless, if that's what you want to. But we wouldn't use selfful, unfortunately. I know it's not really logical, but that's the way it is. Now, it's one thing to see it. Again, it's another thing to hear it. So let me put on my headphones and let me change the settings a little bit to make sure we're good. Okay, now then. So let's listen. Here it's algorithms are blah, 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 relaxation like when you are mine, blah, blah, blah.
Brain patterns. Alpha rhythms are commonly associated with wakeful relaxation, like when your mind.
So algorithms are common associated with wake relaxation. Try to hear the suffixes.
Brain patterns. Alpha rhythms are commonly associated with wakeful relaxation, like when your mind.
Are commonly, because adverbs, how are they associated commonly? And then wakeful relaxation. You're full of wake. You're not asleep. Wakeful relaxation. Okay, so we have an adverb and an adjective. So now you would have a very blah 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 wanting to help.
Usually you would have a very wealthy country wanting to help a low-income country, and they would bring in a well or other big infrastructure project.
So usual, how? Usual, you would have a very wealth, Let's listen again.
Usually you would have a very wealthy country wanting to help a low-income country, and they would.
So usually, because how, you would have a very wealthy country wanting to help, right? So again, we have usually as an adverb, wealthy as an adjective, wealthy country. Which country? Wealthy. Okay, perfect. So at this point, of course, don't forget now, it's just theory, right? A lot of suffixes you looked at. So now, of course, you think, how on earth am I going to remember all those suffixes? You don't need to remember them, but when you see them somewhere, you need to learn to recognize them. That's why you need homework practice, and that's why you need to come in class and have extra in-class practice. Then you would need to do writing exercise, again using these new suffixes and prefixes and whatnot. And of course, come to class for a speaking session, for a speaking practice, where you would again incorporate these new suffixes and then later prefixes too. So I'm sure you have questions, so don't be shy. Feel free to reach out to me, ask your questions away. And as always, I'll see you in my next video. Have a good one.